You're using about 20% of what Gemini 3.7 Flash can actually do.
Not because you're bad at this, because Google buried the other 80% in documentation nobody reads, and I read all of it so you don't have to. And here's the twist, that missing 80% has almost nothing to do with clever wording or magic phrases.
Look at this data from the Census Bureau. Only about 1 in 5 US businesses actually use AI in their operations. So if you run a business, and you're even thinking about this, you're ahead of most of your competition. What you might not know is that alongside covering AI news, we work with business owners to help them implement AI in their business. Our engineering team gets to know how your business runs, then builds the automation with you. You'll find the link in the description below. Click it, fill out a short form about your business, and we'll get in touch to set up a call.
So in this video, I'm walking through exactly what changes when you prompt Gemini 3.7 Flash the way Google's own documentation says to, showing you the exact prompt most people write, right next to the one that actually works, so the difference is impossible to miss. By the end, you'll have a set of prompts you can copy the second this ends. First, let's get clear on what this model actually is, because that changes everything that follows. What this model actually is in under 2 minutes. Gemini 3.7 Flash went live on August 13, 2026. Google calls it its most intelligent workhorse model yet for coding and agents, built directly on Gemini 3.6 Flash with real improvements to its core reasoning. Flash used to mean cheap and fast, nothing more. Google's own pricing page now calls 3.7 Flash its most capable Flash model for agentic workflows and multimodal reasoning. Google is putting serious reasoning inside its speed tier now, not saving it for a pro-only model. Here's what that means in practice. It accepts roughly 1 million input tokens, 1,048,576 exactly these, and returns up to 65,536 output tokens across text, images, PDFs, video, and audio. Google's document handling isn't just text extraction either. It processes page imagery too, which matters the moment charts or layout carry the actual information. It has 3 thinking levels: low, medium, high, with medium as the default, plus real tools attached. Google search grounding, URL context, code execution, computer use and preview, function calling, structured outputs, and file search. It doesn't generate images or audio or run the live API, those live elsewhere in the Gemini app. So don't confuse the model with the product wrapped around it. None of that is a spec sheet you need to memorize. It's the reason a plain question and a well-built one can produce 2 completely different answers from the exact same model. One is only using the text box, the other is actually using the tools sitting behind it. Most people never touch any of that. They open a chat window and type like it's 2023. That's the actual story here. Not a hidden 20%, but reasoning controls, huge context, live grounding, and real tools sitting completely unused underneath a normal-looking text box. The habit that's quietly wasting half your prompts. Here's where it gets uncomfortable if you've been prompt engineering for a while. Google's own Gemini 3 documentation says the opposite of what most prompt engineering content has taught for 2 years. It explicitly warns that overly elaborate, over-engineered prompting can make the model overanalyze and actually perform worse. Gemini 3 wants prompts that are direct and structured, not padded. Think about how many prompts you've seen open with "act as the world's greatest expert," promise a $200 tip, demand "take a deep breath," or ask to see the model's entire chain of thought before it answers. None of it is technically wrong, it's just dead weight. Superlative flattery and fake incentives add tokens without adding information, and Google says that's exactly the kind of language Gemini 3 doesn't need. Even tuning temperature down for consistency is outdated advice now. Google's own 3.7 migration documentation tells developers to remove temperature, top P and top K entirely when moving to this model. None of that means these tricks are actively harmful, most of the time. They're just noise the model has to read past to get to the part of the prompt that actually tells it what to do. So if the old tricks aren't doing the work anymore, what actually is? Let's build it, prompt by prompt, starting with the worst one you can write.
The framework that actually fixes it. I built this using a structure I'm calling clearer. Concrete goal, load context, explicit boundaries, anchors and examples, response contract, enable evidence and tools, review, and validate. You don't need all 7 letters every time. You add only what's actually missing. Here's the starting point, about as bad as prompts get, and it's probably close to something you've typed before. Research the AI industry. No decision it's supporting, no definition of AI industry, no audience, no time frame, no idea of what counts as good evidence. Gemini can't fail this prompt, but it can't succeed either, because success was never defined. Now watch what happens when you run it through Clearer. A concrete goal turns it into an actual question with a deadline attached, instead of an open-ended request. Loaded context tells the model who's actually reading this. A SaaS founder deciding where to invest, not a student writing an essay. Explicit boundaries cut off every topic that doesn't matter for that decision. A response contract forces a real structure instead of a wall of text. And enabling evidence and validation turns the whole thing from a guess into something you can actually check before you trust it. Put all of that together, and you get something like this instead. Explain the 5 most important AI industry changes in 2026, most likely to affect B2B SaaS companies through 2029. Focus only on foundation models, agents, developer tools, AI search, and enterprise adoption. Use search grounding, prioritize primary sources over marketing claims, and give me a ranked list with an evidence table, under 1,500 words. That's maybe 50 words longer than the original. And it's not powerful because it's longer. It's powerful because every added line removes an ambiguity the first version left wide open. Notice what's missing too. No persona, no flattery, no fake incentive. Every single word in that second version is doing a job. I ran a version of this exact test on a real question. Will AI native search products replace Google search in the next 3 to 5 years? The weak prompt gave me a confident, article-shaped opinion with no dates on anything. The advanced prompt came back with dated evidence for both sides, a table separating company claims from independent measurement, and an explicit confidence rating instead of a flat answer. Same model, same question. Completely different output, because the second prompt gave it evidence rules instead of just asking it to be right. That's the part worth sitting with. The model didn't get smarter between those 2 runs. It just stopped having to guess what you actually wanted. If you've got a prompt sitting in your history that's been quietly underperforming for weeks, drop it in the comments. I'll grab a few and rebuild them live using this exact structure in a follow-up.
Turning it into a coding partner, not a guesser. Coding and agentic work is exactly where Google says the biggest gains landed over 3.6, meaningfully higher scores on benchmarks like Frontier Code and Deep SWE, plus a jump in its Web Dev Arena rating. Treat those as Google's own reported numbers, not independent proof, but the direction matches what agentic prompting actually looks like in practice. Say you've got an endpoint that's timing out for your bigger accounts because it's returning every row at once, and it finally needs pagination. Here's what almost everyone types. Add pagination to the user's endpoint. That single line invites the model to guess at your database layer. Invent a pagination style nothing else in your codebase uses, and quietly change the response shape for a client that's already depending on it. Here's the version that treats Gemini like an engineer you're handing a real ticket to, not a guesser. Add cursor-based pagination to /API/users so it stops timing out on large accounts. Inspect the existing repo before assuming a pattern, and preserve the current response shape so nothing else breaks. Add tests for an empty result, a partial page, and a full page. Then run the actual suite and report the results. Notice what that prompt is actually doing, sentence by sentence. It tells the model to inspect before assuming, instead of letting it invent a database pattern that doesn't match the rest of your codebase. It protects the one thing that would genuinely break something if it changed, the response shape a client is already depending on, and it ends with a real workflow instead of a wish. Write tests for the edge cases that actually matter, then prove they pass. That last part is maybe the single most useful line in this whole video. Report the results. Don't just say it passes. That one sentence is worth more than any persona you could give the model, because it turns "trust me" into something you can actually verify before you merge it. Ask for the same thing on a messier task, a slow query, a flaky test, a half-finished migration, and the pattern holds. Inspect first, protect what matters, prove it at the end. Reading a screenshot. Like an engineer, not a viewer. Most people hand Gemini a screenshot and ask it to describe what's there. Describe this screenshot. That gets you back a paragraph of adjectives: clean, modern, nicely spaced, which is worthless the moment you actually need to rebuild it. Gemini 3 processes the image itself, not just any text sitting inside it. So treat it like a design reference instead of something to caption. Analyze the image itself, not just any visible text. Identify the layout, typography hierarchy, spacing, and component structure. Label every observation as observed, inferred, or unknown, And don't invent anything that isn't actually visible. Give me a component breakdown and the 5 highest priority details needed for visual accuracy. The crucial phrase there isn't "you're a senior designer." It's those 3 labels. Force the model to tag every claim as observed, inferred, or unknown, and it stops confidently inventing hover states, interactions, and off-screen behavior it never actually saw. If something's too small or blurry to read, it says so instead of guessing exactly what you want before that description turns into an actual build spec. One more thing worth knowing. Google lets you set resolution per image, so give the busy screenshot with fine text the higher setting, and save the tokens on anything purely decorative. Reasoning is now a dial, not a magic phrase. For years, getting more reasoning out of a model meant typing this and hoping. Think step by step and show all your reasoning before answering. Gemini 3.7. Flash replaces that guesswork with 3 real settings: low, medium, and high, with medium as the default. Independent testing from artificial analysis shows exactly what that costs. Its intelligence index climbs from 51 at low to 53 at medium to 56 at high, while the wait before the model even starts responding climbs from roughly 1 second to almost 6 to over 12. Faster isn't always better, and neither is smarter. It depends entirely on the job. Extracting action items from meeting notes doesn't need any of that deliberation, so that stays on low. Reviewing a pull request for correctness bugs and missing edge cases sits right in the middle, which is why Google defaults to medium for most complex work. But a genuinely hard problem is worth the wait. Set the level to high and give it something worth thinking about. We have an intermittent production race condition. Inspect the code, logs, and tests, form competing hypotheses, and use actual evidence to eliminate them. Implement the smallest safe fix, add a regression test, and run it. Don't claim it's fixed until that test passes. That gives high reasoning something worth spending 12 seconds on, instead of burning it on a to-do list. And that's really the whole skill here. Not picking the highest setting by default, but matching the weight you're willing to accept to how expensive being wrong actually is. Stop asking, "Are you sure?" Remember the fake tip, the deep breath, the temperature slider nobody needs anymore? Here's what actually replaces all of it. And it's not a phrase. It's a checklist. Most people type this. Check your answer. That doesn't tell the model what to check. Sources, math, dates, missing requirements, any of it. Here's the version that actually works. Audit the answer above using only observable checks. Classify every factual claim as supported, partially supported, unsupported, or at risk of being outdated. Verify the cited sources actually back each claim, recompute key numbers, and flag anything stronger than the evidence. Then give me a corrected answer with remaining uncertainty labeled. The shift that matters is moving from introspection to inspection. Instead of, "Are you sure?" you're asking which claims lack evidence. Recompute this. Does the source actually say that? That plays directly to the tools this model already has. Grounding and code execution turn "trust me" into something checkable. Run this on a draft with even one shaky number in it, and you'll see the audit catch it every time, instead of the model politely agreeing that everything looks fine. A few more habits worth retiring. A few more things worth knowing while we're already breaking old habits. XML tags versus markdown headings. Pick either one. Google says both work fine as structure, as long as you're consistent, so stop treating one as secretly superior to the other. Few-shot examples aren't dead either. Despite what some newer prompting advice claims, Google still recommends them for locking in pattern, tone, and format. Just don't pile on so many that the model starts copying their surface style instead of their intent. And if what you're actually building has real stages, research, then synthesis, then a final draft, stop cramming all of it into one giant prompt. Google's own guidance specifically recommends chaining prompts for sequential work like that, where the output of one stage becomes the input to the next. That way you catch a bad assumption while it's still cheap to fix, instead of finding it buried in a finished draft you've already spent an hour polishing.
The actual template worth saving. Strip all of this down and the reusable version is simple. A goal, whatever context and boundaries genuinely change the answer, the evidence or files the task depends on, the specific task, the output format you need, which tools to turn on, and one validation step when getting it wrong would actually cost you something. Most prompts need 2 or 3 of these, not all 6. One more thing worth knowing before you build this into your own workflow. Google's model card is up front that this model can still hallucinate and occasionally slows down or times out, and even a million token context doesn't guarantee perfect recall once you're pulling multiple specific details out of one huge document. Pricing is worth double-checking too. Google's introductory rate runs through the end of this year before standard pricing kicks in. None of that erases what's actually improved here. It just means more context isn't a substitute for checking the important stuff yourself. The verdict. So here's where this actually lands. The reframe from earlier turned out to be true. The gap was never a missing 20%. It was reasoning controls. A million tokens of context, live grounding, and real tools sitting untouched behind a normal-looking chat box. Google's own documentation says, skip the mega prompts. A one-line coding request becomes a real engineering ticket instead of a guess. A screenshot becomes a labeled build spec instead of a vague description. Thinking level replaces think step by step. And a structured audit replaces are you sure? When I ran the pagination version of this on a genuinely messy endpoint, the difference wasn't subtle. It came back having actually inspected the existing code, run the real test suite, and reported the results, instead of a confident paragraph claiming everything worked. That's the whole point of this video. Not smarter typing, just fewer ambiguities left for the model to guess at. Every demo you just watched was the same shortlist applied to a different job. A decision instead of a topic, evidence instead of memory, a workflow instead of a wish. So pick one prompt you send constantly and run it through this the next time you open Gemini. Goal, context, boundaries, evidence, output, and one validation line if it actually matters. Let me know in the comments what changed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.